sure that this recording is working. Let me check and see where it's actually recording to in the first place, because that's a pretty important thing. Output, recording, C drive. Okay. Um, all right. Sorry. Oh, you can see this, right? Um,
Yep.
okay. Uh, we'll probably do this faster. Since like I'm only talking to one person. Um, yeah, so we basically went through this, talked about these things, and we don't really need to talk about like I guess everything because like there was kind of like a group discussion on determining days and stuff. And if you're like still going to be out for the next couple of days, then it's like it's fine. Um, but like
No, I
we
should be good. Now
okay,
I'm
cool.
back now.
Um, okay, well we'll get to that when we get there, I guess. All right, so basically the first thing is we want to lay out some like basic terms. A lot of these concepts you should be like familiar with to some degree, but like maybe you haven't had like a specific name put to it, or like you've like operated under some of these assumptions like subconsciously, and you've never really like been exposed to it full. If you have, then great. I mean, I guess this is like then you're farther ahead than everybody else. But so some basic wave terminology. We're going to talk about some ways to break up the map, like some ways you can look at the map, different perspectives, and then how vision plays into like how we're looking at the map and how we're playing off of wave priority. Um, Wave basics. Waves have three states: neutral, pushing, and pulling, even though pushing and pulling are like just the same thing except it's perspective based. So um, the first thing is like you would expect for an even wave in the middle to stay even, but like you've been playing this game long enough to know that eventually RNG will push the wave to one side, right?
Right.
And with when it starts stacking to one side, there's nothing that side. So like if blue in this instance starts stacking, it's gonna push eventually, right? And there's nothing blue can do about it, like a blue laner could do it anything about this wave. It's just gonna keep pushing. The only thing you can
Right.
do is like push with it or hope that the enemy pushes against it, right? Um, so yeah, this just shows the wave stacking up. I forgot to record the next one, so I should ought to just have just drawn all this out, but the core principle here is that a pushing wave will have to keep pushing, correct?
Yep.
And after it pushes, it has to hit something, right? In laning phase, this is the outer turret, okay?
Right.
Or the enemy champion, or both, right? And after it hits the wave, what does it have to do?
Uh,
Like, which direction will the wave push after it crashes the turret?
Back towards the other direction.
Correct, right? And so it's gonna push the other direction. So after a wave is crashed, it's impossible for red then to do anything about the wave pushing back to blue, except,
Okay.
pushing back with it, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
understand.
so you see this a lot in early laning phase, like as the bot lane, like you say like a Caitlyn Karma or something like that, and you have the level one push. All right, so you get your level two. Because of your level two, you have minion advantage, right?
Right.
Now that forces you into the push. Now you either have to hope that they just in and push back, but usually if a team is like down or if like bot lane doesn't get there too, then they just back off the wave, correct, and let you push. Now your wave is gonna keep pushing, and so in the time period that you're trying to push, you're exposed to like jungle vulnerability, right? Um,
Yeah.
and what you have to do is push the wave in and get it to bounce. Because once it bounces, it comes back to your side eventually. And you can stay like get off the wave passively and let it come back into you so you can avoid jungle pressure, right? That's the key concept here that we're trying to take away is that
Okay.
you push out early, or when you push out early, you guarantee that you're going to be able to play under your turret later. But the same thing is that when that wave comes crashing back, you have to sit under your turret and either full clear the wave so it resets to neutral, or if it like or if you don't, then the wave will just push all the way back to the enemy turret, right? And then again, you might be locked into a freeze if this happens. So we want to bounce the wave and we want to let it push for a number of reasons, mainly to avoid jungle pressure and to set up freezes so that way our jungle can come uh, attack a laner who's walking up to the frozen wave, right?
Yep.
Um, so we need to be thinking as a team, like consciously, where we want to position each of our waves based off of how our team is pathing in the level one, but we'll get to that later, right? And so this is just the diagram showing that once it bounces on the wave or on the turret, it'll come back. You might not be familiar with this. Um, I don't know how much like supports like really care to learn about any of this. But in top lane and in bot lane, this is true. You can like tell based off of the wave's position how many minions you need to how like the difference between the minions to freeze. So if you have a 6 minion wave coming up to this yellow zone, you need 8 from the other side to freeze it here, or 7 here, or like 8 here, or 9
Okay.
here, right? Um, uh, yeah. So even though you're not the one farming in your lane as the support, your AD might be brainless, and it is like you can be cognizant of like how much you need to be pruning the wave to keep it from crashing in. Because like if
Yeah,
you're in
for
this
sure.
zone and you have more than 2 minions, like say it's like 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 here, well, it's gonna push eventually, and you're gonna need to like tank it before it crashes into your turret, right?
Right.
Um, Okay, I did a live demo in Practice Tool. It ended up being scuffed because fast forwarding actually fucks my waves, and like it ended up making waves perma-stack on the turret. So I'm not gonna like run through it, but like
Okay.
yeah, I feel like you've played enough of this game to know that that
Yeah.
you've seen everything that I'm talking about. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so the
Just nice
biggest
to
thing,
quantify it.
right? Yeah, yeah, the quantification and the like the pure like this is the factual amount of minions that you need like in this situation is good game knowledge that we all need to be familiar with because like our laners need to know it for obviously their solo queue, but our jungler can't be ignorant of this because when they gank, they need to understand what it is that they should be doing with the wave. Like how like do you let your laner freeze on a bounce or do you push it back in? This kind of thing. Um,
Right.
so in top lane, I find that this is particularly important. I think it's because I've been like a top lane coach before, and also like mid lane is a little bit different, and bot lane is too because you have two champions wave clears that you can access. So top lane, if you're in a melee versus melee matchup, this is like if you don't understand how the first four waves play out as a laner, then like you're going to open yourself up. Because like say like it's an archetypical like weak versus top early game or weak versus strong early game Renekton versus like Nasus or something like that. Even though the matchup isn't that great nowadays, it's like you know like it's just on paper like you think Nasus is bad early game, Renekton's good early game, and they do
Yeah.
trade like this. So level one, the Renekton is going to want to walk up and get pressure on the wave. There's no reason that a Renekton would let the Nasus farm, right? When he like his W out like does more than Nasus Q level one, and so you can
Yeah.
get like a PTA proc or whatever off. So yeah, the Renekton's going to want to walk up. He wants to get aggro or get rage stacks so he can like do more damage when he goes all in. Um, so Renekton is going to auto the wave more than Nasus is going to auto the wave, right? And because of that, that means there's more damage on the Nasus wave, and it's going to push in Nasus's direction, right? This is just how the waves work. And then as it's pushing, at 215 to 245, because the first wave crashes at like 145 and starts to die like at 150. Like you notice, like you leave the jungle leash at like 140 so you can get there around that
Right.
time. So level one, the wave or the first wave, hits 145-ish and starts like dying, whenever you show up to lane. But then the
Yeah.
second wave is obviously going to come in 30 seconds later because of wave timers. And at this point, you pretty much never push the wave level one on side lanes like or any lane all the way. You want to keep it in the neutral position because like if you push level one, you typically don't get. I mean, you don't get level two unless you killed like a ward or a champion level one. Um, and in bot lane you split EXP, so this is never true. But in top lane, like you're not gonna get like if you push level one and you don't get it to turret, then like even if you get it to turret, it's like I don't know, you like lost a trade or something in the process. It's almost never good to hard push level one, right?
Yeah. No,
um
that makes sense.
like 99% bad push level 1. You can push on level 2 when the reinforcement wave comes, but a lot of people typically try and keep the wave stacking through wave 2 into wave 3. And then when the cannon comes, that's when top laners or solo laners hit level 3. And so they'll wait until they can like zone people off the first 3 melees and then crash the whole all 3 waves at the same time. And that opens you up for like cheater recall. It also ensures that like you can push into the enemy jungle because like no top laner can leave 2 waves worth of EXP or 2.5 waves of EXP crashing at their turret when the enemy top laner is level 3. Like if you leave and you die in a level 2 versus level 3 fight at like top river for crab or some shit like that, you're
Right.
actually griefing the game. like slow pushing this wave and getting it to crash on level 3 cannon is like godsend pressure if you want. It is like exactly what you're aiming for if you want to like just get the top crab and push for enemy vision. If you're trying to play for control. If you want
Yeah.
people to come fight you, I mean you can play like a moron, right? And then you could bait the 2v2, but like I don't want to coach that style and I don't want people like I don't think it's good fundamental League of Legends to like look for shit like this. Like if you can just control the wave, crash it, get vision, pull the wave back, and now you're like a Nasus into the Renekton. You probably took a bad trade that let him push the wave in or zone him even harder. And it's like you could be like down health advantage with your wave frozen on you, and you know that the jungle's top side. And that's like again the
Right.
play that we're trying to look for, or a play that we're trying to look for. I had a game of ranked that I was gonna share, but I decided not to because I didn't get the replay in time, so I didn't really decide anything. So this is just like the four wave example, like first three levels of solo lanes. Mid lane it's a little bit different, and like we'll talk more about like that as a team as Rosie plays more mid lane. Um, because like I mean the concepts are going to be important to highlight to her, but I'm also like pretty intent on having solo laners flex around at some point. Um,
Okay.
but we're not even close to that yet. But like, if everyone's trying to get better, I want everybody to like get better at the game as a whole and not just their role. Because like you can, when you play one role, you kind of develop skills for one role that aren't entirely cross transferable, and you become like more gated as a player. Where like if you do just understand the game more holistically, then like you'll start to see how things
Right.
bleed through to each other. So yeah, this is just the first, like an example, first four level or first four waves. You could play it a little bit differently, and like we'll talk in the future about why. But like this is like the bread and butter. If you don't understand this strategy, then you're also not understanding how this can fuck you. Because like if you're the weak side top laner and you don't like manage the minion wave well enough, then like when it starts pushing out, like it becomes uncontrollable for your circumstance. Like and you we don't want to put ourselves in a situation as a team where like we can't like where we have to move people out of rotation and break freezes and stuff. We kind of want to play with our waves as a team. Um, Summary, waves are pushing or pulling. Wave that is pushing has to keep pushing unless acted on by an external force, right? A pushing wave will eventually crash, and this is just for laning phase. I mean, it's kind of true for like mid game too, but waves kind of act weirder in the mid game, and I haven't really fully understood how it all is working right now because they changed some things like midway through season 9. Um, but that's on me. I'm gonna like try and figure that out so I can explain it to everybody. But in early laning phase, things are pretty consistent. Pushing wave is gonna crash, crashing wave will bounce, and a bounced wave will push in the opposite direction. Waves are just gonna ping pong naturally until like both laners full clear the wave and allow it to naturally reset. And when you naturally let it reset, like either lane, the strongest laner is actually just always able to walk up and aggro the wave and then like push it off the mid line so that way they could pull the wave in the opposite direction, right?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know that was like
I'm not exactly sure I understand that concept
okay. Have you
of
ever
like
like
pooling it.
okay. Actually this might be a good time to just like pull up League of Legends then. Here. Um, maybe there's just like an example at YouTube. League of Legends wave aggro. League of Legends pulling a wave. Um, Definitely watched this video before. Definitely recommend this video. Also my game. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it in. We'll do it live. Um, Yeah, so
Hell
this is
yeah.
like pretty good for yeah, if you're a support and you want to put your like ADC's wave in a good position, like you need to understand some of this too, right? Um, so let's see. Um, Damn, it's because I'm
Sorry, you're
streaming.
cutting out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. All right, you're good. Am I cutting out? You said?
Yeah, I understood. You said put your ADC in a good position. You need to understand it. I got you.
I got you,
It was
got
just
you.
a little choppy for a second.
Um, okay. Yeah, so I'll just full shove a wave in, and
I might
then
need to reset the stream.
oh
I don't
yeah.
know if it clicked to the client.
Let me stop streaming. One sec. Wait, is that showing Discord?
Yes.
Yeah, why is it doing that? Okay, it should pull this up soon. Is it good now, or is it like black screen?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Um. Should really remember these. Control Shift O. Okay. Uh, let's level up. All right. Just that's fucked. Okay. Okay. Well, can't fast forward because that's gonna fuck minion aggro. Okay, so
That really does fuck minion aggro.
this is fine. I can just push this next wave in. And we'll just wait 30 seconds instead of being impatient. Okay. So we say we full push this in, and now the enemy is under turret. Oh god, this is actually so fucked. This is not gonna work. Ah, so dumba. I should have waited. Okay. Okay. Well, imagine that this was like neutral, right? And
Yeah.
there's this concept called the even minion wave rule, right? And it's like if there are an even amount of minions on both sides, then whichever direction they're offset from, so like there this is the midpoint, the midline, right?
Yeah.
And then there are an even amount of minions on this side. So that means that this reinforcement wave, both teams' reinforcement waves travel at the same rate. But because we're on this side of the map, this wave gets here quicker and starts doing damage sooner. So now this is going to stack and start pushing in this direction, right? So
Yeah.
if like looking at that last chart that we had, or the chart about the freezing thing, there's not a difference of two minions on reds, like from Blake. Like if blue had two more, or in this case, like there are four minions here. If blue had like five or six, then it would like stick here and be even. But eventually, because this is more like this is just gonna come this direction, right? Um, yeah. So in a situation where you notice that both waves would normally reset and just be in the midpoint, what you can do here is just like stand in the bush, stand over here, draw aggro, okay, and now you come over here, and then the both minions will meet on this side, and they eventually have to push. So you're making the enemy laner have to show up and push the wave. Otherwise, they get locked out because now this is going to keep stacking. And if I were like a mastermind, evil genius, I would just freeze it here, and now there's nothing they can do. So what the enemy team has to do is push this wave and kill all the minions, so that way I can't tank all the minion aggro, right? Because
Got it.
now I would just be standing here taking minion aggro and champ aggro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That makes sense.
All right. I don't really like other than just like looking at it, looking at waves and just trying to look for it and looking like at your waves, like and maybe thinking about could I have frozen that wave like more often into the future. Um, like it'll become clear like when you can do this. I personally think that freezing is like what you should do in 90% of scenarios. If you have wave clear, then and you can full shove, then freezing is in your advantage because you're always going to have the ability to push the wave. But you can't like you if you're forced to push, then you're forced to position a certain way. But when you freeze, you can take passive positioning and not like get ganked while also maintaining the ability of like pushing the wave out and getting priority.
Right.
Um, you don't always
No,
have to
that
be
definitely
pushing
makes
to,
sense.
yeah, you don't always have to be pushing to get or to have prio, right? You just need to be able to
Yeah.
get prio. Um,
No, that definitely makes sense. Better to be passive and be able to push when you need to, as opposed to
right.
push all the time.
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna need to push so that way you can like create space for your jungle to come through.
Yeah.
Like if you want to take bot scuttle, right? Pushing at that point is gonna be good because you need to like be able to rotate while it's happening. You don't
Yeah,
want,
for
yeah,
sure.
but you don't need to push way before your jungle gets there. You can just hold the wave, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's basically like the surface level concept of all of this. There's like more kind of like deducible things like when you start combining like things about the like rules about the waves that leave you to like deeper inferences, but like none of that matters until we understand just these very basics and we're playing around them. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so then we got into like map terminology. So I'll be referring to like certain parts of the map as like consistent names because like for some reason in League of Legends, because you have pings, there was never this like standardized code of conduct. Like what should we call things? Like okay, the little brush, like the circular brush in river.
Right.
That's on both sides. What do you call that?
I don't even know. Nothing.
Like dot brush, pixel brush. I have
Yeah,
either of
I've
them.
heard pixel brush used a lot.
Right, right. So there's like a couple different names for it. I'm sure you could come up with more, right? Um, so, there's a lot of ambiguity when we're talking about map locations, and as such, like when we talk about map movements, because when we're
Right.
talking about moving from one part of the map to another, if we don't use the same labels, then we don't know what we're talking about. So this is in part an effort to like try and like make like clear up comms in some capacity. But um, but yeah, I like I came from like a shooter background where like call outs for locations on the map were specific and really important, and like it
Yeah,
was just
for
weird
sure.
coming to League where like no, but where people argued about what do we call shit, and I just don't know. I don't really feel like it's something that we should have to talk about as a team. Or we will talk about it because we're not on the same page. We're a new team, and that's like fine. But like in the future, I don't want to have to clarify things on a discussion by discussion basis when we could all just know the same words.
Yeah.
So uh, here, let me Control Shift F5. So there's a couple ways you can break up. Oh Jesus. Um, there's a couple ways you can break up the map. Diagonally, radially, right? The first one is like you break up the map in half, right, through the river, and then you have three layers of the map basically, uh, guided by your turrets or like indicated by your turrets. So the most inner one, right? We'll call this inhibitor ring, right? The like
Mhm.
nah, I mean it's not a ring, it's really like an arc, but um, this space like at your turrets and slightly around it, like the max of their vision range, right? Um, then after that you have inner ring, and then outer ring, right? Um,
Yeah.
okay. This will be more important as we talk about like how we can start dividing up these spaces in between and start talking about the map in like sections, but like um the rings here like if I say like putting wards on inner line, like I mean like putting it on this line literally, right?
Okay.
Like this ward, right? Like a ward on inner line would be like the raptor bush and this like defensive pink you see a
Yeah.
lot here,
Okay.
right?
That makes sense.
Or like the blue junction ward, or like slightly around it, right? This isn't
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be on this line, but it has to be on the junctions that this line connects, right?
No, yeah.
Um,
I definitely understand the spots for that.
okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. So yeah, same for like the outer line, and then in between the team's outer lines in the early game, you just have like no man's land. Typically, no, we call it the river, but like for general vision purposes, we're gonna say that any space in between the both teams' outermost ring is no man's land and is contested. And yet, because like even though your turrets could be down, your vision could be pushed past your vision line, and like
Hmm.
your pressure line, your actual team's pressure line is like greater than your turret's pressure line, right? Um, so like if your if your team is like actually pushed up to their outer, because we took all three of their outers, right? Then the enemy team's no man's land is like not just this area anymore. It's not just the river. It's like their outer ring is no man's land, right?
Yeah, makes
Um,
sense.
so we don't want to get caught in no man's land ever, right? Or at least not without friends or an escape plan or anything like that. So, um, yeah. Let's see. So we can break up the map diagonally here. Right along the river. This is like the natural side versus side breakpoint, right? Um, so there's some like crazy math we can do using geometry. It's been a long time, I know, right? So this is an isosceles right triangle, which means that, top lane and bot lane are obviously the same lane if you think about it. Like the side lanes are identical.
Right.
Um, and they're the same length. So it takes 1 unit of time to get from like top lane or from base to top lane, right? And same from base to bot lane.
Yeah.
So we can do and because of that, we can actually figure out how long this takes to get from one corner of the map to the other, right? So if this is one and this is one, well, Pythagorean theorem is going to give us the square root of two for this side, right?
Right.
Um, we can actually break up, this into halves broken by the mid lane, right? So river, like the top half of the river and the bot half of the river are the same length. I know, crazy concept, right? Um, but that length is also roughly the same as base to the mid lane, okay? Um,
Okay.
and again, we can break these into more isosceles right triangles. So what this actually means again is that the the distance for mid lane to like or base to mid lane is actually about 70% of what it takes to get from top lane or to top lane and bot lane. And the distance to get to mid lane to bot lane is also zero point 0.7. So like if a mid laner wants to travel from, base to mid lane to bot lane, it's roughly 40% the time it takes to get there straight away, right? So we're losing 30% of our time, or you're losing 30% of your time by going from bot lane to here, but more time if you go this way and that way. This doesn't like this is like I don't have any examples of like why this is like really important for us right now, but I just want to highlight the fact that like yes, obviously mid lane is a shorter lane than top lane, but like we don't really think about how much shorter it is. Because if it's 70% the distance, it takes 30% less time to travel through this area, right? So if we want to pressure, like if we want to go from like we reset and we go to Baron, right? Um, like how much time are we losing if we go straight through top lane, farm wave, and come back versus going through mid lane and coming up through here or something like that? Um, bu- 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 Okay, yeah. So not super important right now, but I just want to like bring this to your attention so that way in the future when it's important, like people are like, oh shit, that triangle thing. Wow. Um, Line of scrimmage is not a super crazy concept if you're familiar with football, right? It's just where all the players line up at the start of the play, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in League of Legends, right? There are level one plays, and we need to be aware of how they work to some degree, so that way, we're not caught off guard when people can kill us at level one and shit. So line of scrimmage is pretty simple. Top laner starts by top lane. Mid laner usually starts at mid lane. The bot lane takes up some position here. It could be ADC here. It could be support here. Typically, you want to put the most mobile person or the person whose flash is the least valuable in the spot that's most likely to get invaded. So if you know that a lot of teams like to wrap through like the outer tri-brush here, or it's like a blitzcrank, everyone does that standard solo Q invade through the river entrance here.
Right.
Like you don't want to put your most vulnerable person in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like we want to put
Definitely makes sense.
right. So it doesn't have to be top mid jungle ADC support. Like it should really be like uh assess each entrances like likely to get invaded and then put the person like put people of descending priority in the most vulnerable spots, right? So like
So
yeah, go ahead.
if I was like, in terms of like descending priority, uh, if I was like a less mobile support and I had like an Ezreal, would he take up the like
Mm-hmm.
spot that
Yeah, that you
would
think
be
is
more
going to be
vulnerable?
invaded. Yeah, or
Yeah.
if you're like
Okay.
a hex flash support or something like that, where it's like you burn flash level one,
Yeah.
kind of
Okay,
sucks,
that
but like
makes sense.
yeah. So like a lot of mid laners will stand mid for some reason, and it's like I really feel like we should put our immobile ADCs there a lot of the time. Um, but
Oh, right.
but yeah, we can. I mean, we'll figure that out as we go on. This is just standard, right?
Yeah.
Typically, what we'll see is a lot of teams like the jungler will, if he starts bot side, um, like on blue side, let's say it's like a Hecarim or something like that, and he wants to just do like Raptor start, leashless clear. He'll put a ward on the opposite side. He could put it either here on the river cross, or he could put it here in the blue, so that way he knows like if it's actually being invaded. Um, and then he might recall and then get scanner and come back, right? If we're worried about like late invades and stuff, we can drop another river ward here. It's typically not good for bot lane to drop both of their wards like at like entrances, but in some cases it could be like the next one I'll highlight here. Like in a counter raid scenario, again from blue side, say we see the enemy team 4 stack, right? And we see,
Right.
and I have the ADC actually outside the bush for this specific reason. It's because like if he's in the bush and they hug the wall here, you actually can't see them until they wrap the corner. So, or swing the corner because we're using Valorant terminology now. So yeah, like until they swing this corner, like ADC couldn't see them. But if he stands out here, he can see them like as soon as they get like within killing distance. So like there's
Yeah.
options to like flash into here or just walk this way. But if you see them this early, you have a couple different options. Like you want to put if he wasn't in a situation where he gets like invaded and flashed on, and he gets to walk out, he just drops this ward, right? But now
Right.
we know there's 4 people bot, right? And we have to do this constant counting. Like we put one, okay, we see 4 here, we got to do the math. What's 5 minus 4? 1.
Well,
Okay, so there's one
right.
top side, right? And we know that because we can see it, and so we make the decision as a team to get this ward because nothing that the top laner could do in a 3v1 scenario.
Right.
Um, so when we get invaded, we almost always want to use it as a exchange, like a handshake. Unless we're specifically planning to 5 stack an invade check and then break into like a standard line of scrimmage vision. Like we're just here early, then we break up to get vision wards down. Even if you're gonna do that, typically, like so, say we wanted to 5 stack bot, we still like want somebody to drop this ward here and then maybe one here and then we sit back or something. But we don't. I'm not a huge fan of 5 or 4 stacking unless we're like actually just like a pretty good level 1 team, but we're just not good at aggressive level 1 because there is a difference. You need CC. But if you know that like the team is gonna walk in and you have some shit like Lulu Q, like Alistar Q, and it's just like it's just free if they walk into you, but it's like harder to get off when you're invading, then like we could sit back and just do nothing and 5 stack. But
Okay.
I'm typically a fan of just using the line of scrimmage to handshake vision. That's like a easier it's like less risky in most situations because you don't want confrontation if you are a scaling team. And typically the comps that I'm gonna try and look to build are like useful in the mid game more than they are at any other point. I don't really like drafting for scaling, and I also don't like drafting to try and win early. But because of that, like I don't like early game like skirmishes a lot of the time, unless our comp is just that much better early and we have to because we get
Yeah.
outscaled. But like, um, for
No,
the
that
most
makes
part,
sense.
we try and play for the mid game. Like we don't take like 50-50 plays when we could just take like this guaranteed vision swap because this ward right here, the mid cross ward, is like giga broken. Um, uh, I did this on Rift Kit, so I guess we'll actually pull it up here. So just like a highlight, a jungle clear, like say they did this whole invade scenario, right? And now jungle actually comes back here. They planted vision and they didn't actually do anything, right? So they enemy team came in here, they dropped a green here, a green here, okay, and they see the Hecarim starting here, but blue team and it's going to be a pink ward here, but it's not actually a pink ward, it's just a yellow trinket. So they know that like maybe our jungler's starting bot side, or they could just know that he's not bot side because he didn't cross this vision, right? So he
Right.
he didn't start on Raptors, he didn't start on red, so he's probably top side, right? But let's just say he started bot side. I feel like that makes this example a little bit easier. Um, top laners are doing their thing. We have this ward here, and we didn't see them, and maybe we also got this ward, right? So we're handshaking this vision. Um, but we're starting on this side early. So what could actually happen here is that the jungler, he does one, two, three, and then he crosses, and now he's on vision the entire time in the top quadrant, right?
Yeah.
Um, this guy, I mean, jungler should have a scanner, so at the very least he clears this like while he's coming up. But this jungler comes back, he's got scanner, he scans this at the beginning, and now these two wards are gone. Okay,
Yep.
so, but Hecarim's at his third camp in this path, and this is like maybe a jungler who can't do Gromp. Okay, so this guy's at his third camp, and we know where he is. But Hecarim's at his third camp, and they don't know where he is. Okay, because they invaded on the starting side and we didn't. Um, and so now there's like this situation where okay, we got jungle positioning, right? We know exactly how many camps he has because we can count CS. And then we know where he's going because it's like if he's on Raptors and he can clear Raptors, he's probably going to clear Raptors and then take red, right? It's too simple. Now we're in a situation where like okay, they don't know that we're bot, so they kind of have to play with the assumption, like especially if our bot lane decides to play up, because now we have full reign to play up. Jungle cross the top side, right? This is happening.
Hmm.
We somehow, if we're a lane that drafted to be able to get prio, like we're taking prio here and we're
Yeah.
pushing this out. Also because this is a leashless clear, like this is Hecarim starting here, whereas like this guy is like starting on this buff and he probably got a leash. So we're taking this leashless clear, getting early priority with our bot lane, and they're pushing up with that. And now we have like jungle, we have info advantage because we see the jungle's positioning. They don't have ours guaranteed at this point, and we could either look for this, we can, or swing it back top side, right? Um, so this is just like one example of where like if they invade for this early vision, it's not always going to pay out for them, like especially if they're looking for a kill. Um, so yeah, um, that's just one example. I mean, there are also situations where like they invade and put better wards down, and like Hecarim's pathing isn't ambiguous, but like we're already playing like passively topside for the moment because this like the jungler's bot side, and we know that he's going to be like full clearing, so we're not expecting him to gank. So they're like losing pressure by trying to push this in, and we're getting like a free full clear where this guy he didn't get to clear his Gromp, and now he's just down CS. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah. Any questions about that?
No, that makes total sense to be honest.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Let's see. So yeah,
It's
this is
nice to know like concrete strategies for early game
yeah,
because I feel like it's kind of like
it's kind of
a
fucked in
cluster
solo
and
queue. It's so
everyone
fucked
knows
in solo queue.
exactly what to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it kind of was like scuffed in our flex too. Not that like it mattered. Like we are just playing against like
Oh yeah,
normal
I
players.
was like, what do
But it
we
was
do?
just like
Like, yeah, we were talking about like, do we
yeah,
do line? Like, what do we do? Yeah, like,
yeah. And
yeah,
we're all just kind of sitting there like I don't know.
mhm,
We'll just sit. But
yeah.
it's nice to have some type of like concrete plan now.
Yeah, if we say 5 point or line, what we mean is like just the standard line. And we should
Yeah.
we can't be in your comms in real games, but I'm gonna be in some comms for scrim games talking about like shit like this.
Okay.
But I'll try and like I want it to be like a training wheels approach where like,
You
we're
hand off the strategies to us more so
yeah, and
than telling
eventually
us.
like yeah, and you guys like have to develop like the the skills as a team like to
For
come
sure.
to these conclusions, right? Um so yeah, like this is just like these are two level 1 plays. There's a lot more in the book. But like again, we need to start with the basics. So
Yeah.
vision principles. So like when I say this is like what kind of vision are we trying to get at early stages of the game? And I did this in Rift Kit again, actually. So we're talking about how mid and river crosses are essential. Um, inner cross is pretty important for early game. I mean, it's a pretty nice ward to have like all the time. Um, so when I say cross, right, we divide the map into two parts, right, or into
Yeah.
by two axes, and it's like through the mid lane and through the river. So anything above, wow, that's awful. Anything above mid lane or anything a part of mid lane and above is the top half of the map.
Hmm.
And then anything part of mid lane and below is the bottom half of the map. you'll hear me refer to like me if we have three people mid lane and like one person top, I'll say we have four people top. But like obviously we have three mid, but three being mid means that you can have them in the other part of the map pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if we have like three mid and one top, it's like technically four top. At least by the way that I'm trying to describe it. Um, so anyway, we divide the map into two parts. So for like early jungle pathing, um, if you can get this ward, a little known fact that you can actually put a ward right there and the turret doesn't get the vision, but you can still see everything here. Um, so you can actually put like a little ward in that spot or like right here
Okay.
too. Um, uh, those two, like those four, oh geez, those four wards give you inner cross, right? And we're like, do we understand why we're calling it inner cross?
Yeah, for
Right,
sure.
because it's on the inner line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, you can call it inner mid cross, but it's like I don't know, it's a little redundant. Okay. So then there's river crosses, right? When you're crossing from one side of the river to the other, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're gonna break up the river into four equal segments, divided like this, right?
Okay.
That's not really equal, but like I don't know. It's Oh,
Makes
sorry.
sense.
I see why does not look right at all. It's because it's supposed to look like this. Okay. So four segments, right? And there's four river entrances, right? So we're gonna call this River 1, River 2, River 3, and River 4, right? So our
Okay.
River 3 entrance would be from blue side here, and their River 3 entrance would be there. So
Yeah.
going over this line, or going, well, because it's this line right here, actually. So going over this line is a river 3 cross, is a river 4 cross, is a river 2 cross, river 1 cross. Um, or like that. So those are like crosses on that. Anytime that we okay, so um actually let me step back and try to see what I was gonna say. Okay. So because of this, when we're creating our vision structures early, we want to look at like this. We have the outer line here on both sides, and this is like the farthest point of natural vision generated by the turrets and the minions, right? And if we actually want to move this line up, right, and push it into this side and technically like push their line back, right? We want to push up vision and we want to push up our minion waves. But before we do that, we have to make sure that our line is secured. We can't push into this side of the map without having the pressure here first, right?
Yeah.
This, like, we can't go from here to here if this guy's back here and this guy's back here and our pressure is actually like that, right?
Yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
So our pressure is generated by minion waves, by champions, and by vision. Um, I mean, there's also like intangible pressure generated by like neutral objectives and like global pressure and shit like that. But like, imagine that nobody has crazy teleports and that champions can only exist or only affect their like surrounding area, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we have this line, right? I don't think that I mean there are going to be times where like as a jungler and this was mentioned during the conversation that you went apart for like our jungler mentioned, if he's blue side and he invades into the red right here, like
Hmm.
a ward that he likes to drop is this one, right? Because it's not a very commonly checked bush and it like all it catches you going this way, all that, right?
Yeah.
Um so that's an example of when this rule that I'm about to state isn't true. And like there are going to be like um,
Exceptions.
exceptions to everything that I say because League is a very contextual game.
Yeah.
So, but for the most basic understanding of how vision works, we want to put vision in defensible areas, and the most defensible areas are places within our line, right? So we want our pink line, to be parallel with our like pressure line, right? So we want like if we're gonna drop pinks here, it's not a good idea as the bot lane to put your pink as blue side in this rush, right? Almost ever, right? You just scan it if you really need to kill the ward there, right?
Right.
Because otherwise you're putting it here and it's just like a free 30 gold for the enemy to like. We don't want to pay 75 gold for the enemy to get 30. Just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. We're losing like 100 gold. Doesn't make any sense. So So we would rather put the pink here and protect it with the buffer of our pressure. So we will, like in this scenario, if we're gonna put the pink here, we would want a green ward here, and we want our forward pressure with our wave here.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
um, Pinks, when we place them, should be like one pass away, which is a concept from basketball. When we're talking about like players' positions relative to each other, it's not 100% translatable here, but imagine that you have the option between like pushing out the wave in a couple seconds or moving on the map. Like like it's literally just like one map movement is like from here to here, right? From your bot lane to this river bush, right? That's one movement or like one um like it's not a full play, but like for the sake of this argument, like you'd be able to take a ward in 4 seconds, right? So you want to be 4 seconds away from your ward.
Okay,
Okay. Um,
makes sense.
it's easier to defend your wards when you have like this vision and you know that the enemy's coming for it, right? We don't want our pink ward to be past our green ward. Doesn't make sense, right? So
Yeah, that's fair.
our pink vision should always be like surrounded and protected by a layer of green vision or just
Okay, that
champions.
makes sense.
Um, so when we're pushing up greens, we want to put them up around pinks, and when we're thinking about putting pinks, we want to put it like one layer behind pink or behind greens. So like if we've already pushed into this like this far into the enemy jungle, right? Then it's more safe to put a pink like here or right here for us, right?
Right.
If we're gonna break up the map, and this is like part of what I was mentioning about rings and layers earlier, is like so there's like you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's awful, right? Like
Yeah.
this drawing is pretty bad. But if you look at it and if you look at it for long enough, you start to see that like these layers are actually like one pass away from each other. So like a pink here is one pass away from your green on any of these other intersections, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so when we're pushing up the line, right, we want to typically do it one line at a time. So if we push up this green, that creates space for this pink to move up. If we push up, like the green that was here into here, and we took this turret, right, and so now our like we say we've already taken their outer, right, and now they're backed up to here, and our ADC is here, but our support's roaming.
Right.
Kill this here. So he shoved out, and this icon here is just like it just means that you're creating enough forward pressure to lock somebody in lane by like having priority in some capacity, right? Like this champion is either pushing up to here and like keeping them here, or like they're rotating off and the minion wave pressure is keeping them there. So say anyway in a scenario where they're actually backed up to like this point, right? And the wave is stuck there, right? So now we have technically vision right here, right? We've got vision here. We could maybe push vision up into here even deeper if we also had the mid outer, right? And so their line actually doesn't exist right here. Um, it's like our line exists all the way up here, right? And now this is all of our space.
Yeah.
But we still don't want to put our pinks in their space, right? We want to just push up this layer as far as we can. We can put it on the line if we have vision even deeper for a while, right? Like if we're just controlling this space in general, like it's fine for this to be technically here. As long as we're defending it. But we don't want to like put this here if we're just going to leave it or anything like that. There's no reason to secure this amount of vision if it doesn't mean anything in the future. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, vision should be meaningful. Vision should be placed in groupings. Like this whole like look at this. This is complete bot side vision, right?
Yeah. For
But
sure.
by inference, anything that we don't see on here is on the top side of the map, right? So we
Yeah.
we see three here, right? So where are the other two? A limited amount of positions, right? And we can use this to our advantage.
Hmm.
Having control of one side is controlling if I have or is having control of both sides. Um,
Okay, that makes sense.
so yeah, biggest concepts, you want to put pinks in defensible positions like one pass away. You can put wards like one junction away from each other, and it creates these like these structures are really what we're aiming for in vision. Like vision, like let me just refresh the page. Like say we put a pink here, like our team puts like a ward up here instead of like a ward, on the line or like close to the line. Like say it's like all the way up here, right? Okay, well now there's this hole in our vision, right? They just come right here, like or come through here. Um,
Yeah,
what was
that's
it?
fair.
Um, uh, so yeah, or like in the mid game, like we don't want pinks at dragon when Baron's about to spawn, right? Shit like that. We're gonna be constantly moving our vision, talking about it, and we want to place vision with teammates, and we want to place vision around people who are gonna be there. So like if you know that your jungler's swinging bot side, but you might not be able to defend it because he's coming down this way. This ping might be okay. You might be able to put it up farther, if you want to fight. If you're a stronger team 2v2, or if you have if it's your team is actually stronger in the 2v2 or like in the skirmish around the pink, then put your pink up as far as you want. But you don't want to extend into this to defend your pink because you can't, right? Like it's fine to push the line a little bit and maybe go past like the rules that I'm setting, but that's only when we have advantage. If we're playing from neutral, we don't want to like break these rules. Um,
Yeah,
so
makes
yeah,
sense.
we want our vision to be connected. We want our vision to make sense. And if we have sporadic vision that like is either um, irrelevant or it's redundant in that like if you put a ward here, let's see, um, if you put a word like a word here, I should have just left the pink here. So if you put a word here and here, right? You also have this area in between warded, and you have this area in between warded, right? Even though you can't see this, you can see both paths to getting to that. I mean, they could wall jump, there's a couple of rules, or they could break those rules. Like if you have a ward here, actually. So you have this warded, you know that they haven't pushed through this and into here, right? So if you have these two wards, right? If you have this mid inner cross warded and you have the blue junction warded, then you have everything in between warded, right? By inference. So if you put a third ward down here, that does nothing, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I understand that.
yeah. So we don't want to put like if we're gonna put like these two wards down, we don't need to put anything in between. We want to stretch the line and we want to get
Right.
more meaningful vision, that's connected here. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
that's fair.
okay, okay. Yeah. Obviously, vision fights are important, almost as important as like fights for like real objectives because teams need to wrestle for vision beforehand. If we can get picks off of vision, that's great. Yep. Questions?
No, that makes sense. It's a lot of stuff that you're right. I definitely like kind of knew in the back of my head,
Right.
but like couldn't really quantify or write down for you if I asked.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you're a high elo support. Clearly, you know something about vision. I mean, you kind of have
Right.
to, right? Like,
Yeah.
but you
You
don't.
definitely pick up on a thing or two eventually.
Right, right. So yeah, that's like will I mean that's like a huge stressor of mine. Like I think that like our team a team playing the perfect game to me is us going 0-0 for the first 20 minutes, giving up all the objectives that we need to, but then when it comes time to like pushing for our fights, we like recognize that it's like our win con and then going
Right.
for it when it is, as opposed to just like, hey, this guy's kind of caught. Do we just kill him for free gold? Like I hate watching that shit, right? Like I want to see us play the chess match.
Okay.
But like, some teams are going to be scrappier and they're going to drag us down to their level, and it happens, and we have to play that game sometimes. So we obviously want to like be a team that's ready to fight, but we don't want to seek out aimless and pointless fights. Like if fights don't transition to objectives, then like why are we taking them? Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
I went on a huge tangent here. But what do you use any like stats websites?
Uh, so I use op.gg a lot just to check my own stuff and
Right.
sometimes live games.
Okay, okay. But
And
nothing
then,
for like champion play rates and win rates or anything like that?
well, I do use u.gg every once in a while just to kind of check
Okay,
what
okay.
is bot lane like.
Right.
But I don't know, to be honest, like the system seems weird on u.gg. So if you have other recommendations for websites,
Yeah, yeah,
like
I do.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So I just basically highlighted, so OPGG is just like the most popular one, and like I've
Hmm.
used it. Um, the thing you'll know about it, or you should know about it, is that it's highly simplified. There's not a whole lot, like it's really digestible. I mean, this is like a really clean interface, right?
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah, it's only Korea and it's only platinum. and above, right? So you can't break it
Okay.
down into diamond or anything like that. All of these win rates and play rates are based off of Korea only, which is
Gotcha.
like people did herald Korea as like the the God's chosen land of League of Legends, and people like really cared about this.
Right.
But like you should really consider everything with that. Like this is not NA solo queue. This is Korean solo queue, and they play a different game. Like a
Yeah.
hundred percent. It's like completely different region.
Fair.
So what I like to use is Lawlytics, and this website is a little bit harder to digest. It's got a lot more going on, and I don't like it doesn't have like the greatest like UI, I think, like how it looks. A lot of dark
Right.
colors and shit. Um, but what was I gonna say? It has the most information. So like for example, OPGG only lets you check on the latest patch, right? Um, this thing goes back all the way like, 20 patches, right? Or by days. So like sometimes a champion won't get buffed or nerfed during a patch, right? But you want to see how it's done over the longest period of time. So like
Right.
we're gonna go to top lane for example. Lulu's pretty broken. I've been playing this champion for a minute. Obviously her pick rate's pretty low, but her ban rate's also insane, and she gets picked in support a lot more. So not a lot of people are playing her top worldwide, but like let's go to Korea and see what the difference in her pick rate is. It's like literally triple, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
um, so you can also filter by different ranks. So I filtering by Diamond Plus. Like if we just go to Diamond 2 Plus, it might give us an even yeah. So like 4% pick rate in Diamond 2 Plus, right? If we switch it back to, and this is over the past 30 days, we can go back to global, and in Diamond 2 Plus, it's like a 1.43. So every region well, I guess maybe Korea's weight on this is a bit higher, but I'm pretty sure if we just compare, if we were to go down the list region by region, so it's like, yeah, it has a 0.56 play rate in NA. It's literally getting played 8 times more in high elo in Korea, right? Um, um, right? So these are kinds of the things that you can find out between the regions and shit. But with this too, if we go into Lulu's specific stats, we can actually see her matchups into top laners when she's picked in top lane, and then from here you can actually get in the matchup stats. So over the past 30 days versus Renekton, Lulu has played versus it 826 times, has this win rate, and has built all these items in these specific matchups, right? Not something you can get
Okay.
with OPGG. Like you go on
Yeah, for
here
sure.
and you can go on here and you get like general runes and you get items and like their frequencies for like 3 item sets or overall, but not a whole lot of like in specific stuff. Like in this actually, oh, this is matchups, but in generals you can check item builds, and you can actually check items that contain a specific or builds that contain a specific item. So like if I wanted to see all the games where Lulu has built Athene's Unholy Grail first item and see what other builds like surround that, I can click on
Hmm.
this and I can get all the builds organized by this way. Um, then you can see item win rates. This doesn't show you combinatorial item win rates. So like this shows you what is the item win rate when it's built like this, and then what is it when it's like built in this spot. But it doesn't show you if you build Athene's first, what's the win rate of this being built second. I mean, you can find that out here, right? Because now it's like if you build Athene's first, like this. You build Athene's first, then Boots, and then Ardent Sensor. That's the win rate right there. That tells you how many times that's happened. Um,
Okay.
but like this is going to show you the items in a vacuum win rate when you build it second, which is disingenuous and not like it's a bait statistic. Like you should never go, oh, in every matchup Lulu should just build this second because it has the highest win rate, like Magi's or
Right.
something like that. Like that's kind of a flawed reasoning. But you can get like a better sense of what is being built in general. Here are more in-depth stats, so you can like rate Lulu in terms of like her damage, like just her. You know, these are not the just your standard KDA, right? I mean, it's
Hmm.
there, but there's more to it. So yeah, she's the highest assist top laner in the game right now. And she's performing pretty well because she does like well into bruisers. Uh, I can speak from experience. I mean, you watch Lulu play support, and enchantresses typically dog fighters and assassins, right? That's like their whole
Hmm.
shtick is like defending the ADC from dive threat. So it makes a lot of sense that in solo lane, Lulu would cream these types of characters, right?
For sure.
And that's what we find out is that we see like, oh, she shits on people who try and dive on her face. Um, let's see. Oh, this is when she's picked top lane. So if we actually go when she's picked mid lane and matches up into these characters, she smacks Akali, she smacks Zed, smacks
Hmm.
Lucian. Doesn't look that great versus Sylas, but I feel like it's actually fine. I don't know why it looks bad here. But yeah, like she smacks all of these assassins, and this is like important for our team because Rosie is like really not comfortable playing versus these types of characters, because she's not a laner, and she's like trying to
Right.
make this transition into the mid lane, but she's not playing characters that are good versus these assassins. So she wants to avoid these assassins, even though like something she already plays, but just hasn't played at mid lane yet,
I
um,
see.
is broken. So this is like, why I find value in looking up these things and just like trying to experiment with it. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
um, so yeah, I would just say like go to Analytics, get familiar with it, but don't like the numbers don't mean everything, especially if we're not interpreting them correctly. Um,
Yeah. Understood.
but yeah, I like Analytics. Like another thing that I've been like dick riding for a while, and why I'm super excited that Ming is on this team is that if you go to 10 or past 30 days of Korea or of solo queue and you look at bot lane, good God, does this champion look stupid. Karthus
Yeah.
is absurd in bot lane. Like you actually
Yeah. Ming
crush
played
ADCs.
Karthus in one of our flex games. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, like we're running this. Like this is
Cool.
because Karthus is going to be a weak side bot laner, but also wins his lane. So when you're a weak side laner and you win your lane, that what that means is your team also got to dump resources into strong side. So if you're
Right.
Karthus and you won your lane on bot lane, now your team can gank top, right? And if your team ganks top while you're Karthus, you click R and you fuck top lane, right?
Right.
So I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of like cross pressure. I'm like playing opposite sides of the map at the same time is really hard for bad teams to handle. When I played on competitive back in my undergrad, like my team, like we had to ban TF and Shen because our team couldn't deal with it. Like, and it's just true for a lot of teams. Like we just don't think
No,
about
yeah,
the
for
big
sure.
cross map ultis. Like we'll go
Last time I
for
played in Clash, we got smashed just because they had better uh like
response
cross
pressure.
map
Yeah,
performance. Yeah,
yeah,
lots of like TPs and I think Shin and yeah, it was
yeah.
I mean it was such an easy game for them. We were just didn't know what to do.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, it's really obnoxious for sure. Um, Yeah, so like I'm interested because like Ming also plays like Soraka carry, right? Like, and it's like when
Yeah.
we could just run
He
cross map
plays some
pressure.
fun champs.
Yeah, I'm really excited, right? It's kind of nuts. So yeah, there's Oracle's Elixir and Log Gamepedia. I am gonna be doing a lot of our scouting for like looking at pro games and stuff like this is just something I like to do. Um,
Cool.
and like other people in the support staff at NC State, like Steven, um, Plucking Penguins, like, we all like to talk about this kind of thing. So we're like on these websites anyway. But like Log Gamepedia is probably like the best encyclopedia of League of Legends history. Like you can get results and stats from every tournament that has ever happened for League Pro scene or amateur in existence. And it's all accurate, and you can get the match files and like do more analysis on it yourself. And like it's a godsend. Oracle's Elixir is pretty good for like just simple aggregate averages of like teams and players like over a competitive season. If it matters. But that's that. I would say just get more familiar with Lawlytics. Um,
Okay. Can do.
uh, don't buy into everything, but if you see something on Lawlytics, like send it to me and like we can talk about it. Cause like
Yeah,
if it went under my radar, like I was like I'd be happy to see whatever you have, like whatever sleeper shit, because we info advantage on other teams. Like if they don't know shit's good, then like we're always going to win, or not
yeah,
always, but like
for
we have a
sure.
higher chance. Um,
Definitely have the advantage.
so we talked about next week. Basically, we have a scrim block set for Tuesday. I think is we should be able to get one. I'll get update with Kat and see if we can. We've got our game on Wednesday. I've got to do match prep for that before tomorrow, and we'll talk tomorrow about what I've like compiled.
Hmm.
And then we'll try and work. I'll talk with other people and we'll work out the kinks before like our Wednesday draft. And then hopefully, like, I mean, I'm probably gonna run the draft the entire way through because like that's kind of the precedent I want to set here. I've let players like, and when I was a player, letting other players. It seems just like let your coach draft you garbage. If it's garbage, we talk about it after the game, and then you like just accept that like it wasn't your fault because your coach gave you a shit matchup or a shit champ or whatever. But I'm not gonna like we can talk about it after, and I can get better at drafting what it is that everyone wants, instead of us talking about it in game when we're on 30-second timers. It's not a
Yeah,
good.
for
It's
sure.
talking about it in talking about champion select in champion select is wrong.
Yeah, no,
Like
understood.
um so then we want another scrim block after that. We'll decide that on Wednesday, and then we're gonna do like another meeting next week where we talk about like the 3 games that we played. I'm gonna be talking about some more macro concepts, and such, and then we gave everybody some homework. Um, I didn't list you because I figured I'd just talk to you.
Yeah,
So as far as like expanding your champion pool, hold on, Kramsey. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not. I would say I would love for Lulu to be a quadruple flex between us. Like if you can get more comfortable at that champion, then do that. I saw
yeah,
that you played Pantheon, right? You listed Pantheon?
yeah. So I don't actually have much experience with him, and by much I mean I've played like I think 3 games with him.
Okay.
But I played him in tryouts for the first time,
Yeah. I think I watched that
and
game.
yeah, and it was fun and not like incredibly difficult to understand by any means. He
Right.
definitely needs more practice, but
For
I
sure.
definitely get the gist at least.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Because like to me, like Pantheon is so insane. Champion is
Yeah,
actually ridiculous. So I want more time on that. Um,
okay.
I don't know how experienced are you at Thresh? Because I see this right here and I go 4-1. Wow, 5 game sample size. Like, what
So
what's the deal?
the reason that is so high is because I played it in Flex with my friends a few
Oh, it's
times,
not
and it
solo queue.
was like,
Okay, okay, okay,
yes, it was like silver elo, and it was just like
okay,
impossible to mess up.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I've played it in solo duo, and honestly, dude, like I really want to be better at him. I'm just like I don't know. Like when I play in lower elo with Thresh, I'm like really good. Like I would smurf with my friend, and we would
Mm,
win like a crazy amount of games. But in D4 it's just like
it's a
I
different
don't think
game.
it's like a confidence thing. It's just like I don't understand exactly what I'm doing wrong, and I definitely seem to get dicked
Hmm.
compared to like lower level players.
Okay, okay.
And I want to be better with him because he seems like a great champ, and I have a good deal of experience on him in lower elo, just not my elo, I guess.
Right. Yeah, we can definitely. I mean, I think that I mean, we can try him in like our games, like if you just want like a more conducive to learning space, because solo queue is
Yeah,
not really great for that.
yeah, for sure. No, I'd love
Um,
that.
so we can definitely like. I mean, Thresh is just like kind of fits. I mean, he doesn't fit every comp, but like I think he's a pretty decent general blind like support pick. Maybe not now. He's not amazing, but like if we can incorporate him, that'd be great. I'm thinking though primarily like the first one is gonna be Pantheon.
Okay.
Um, how much experience did you have with Senna at all? Like not really any, I
I
take it.
think I've played Senna once in a one for all, and
Okay,
that's it. So
okay. Well,
next to none. But
let's
she's kind of seems like an easy champ to pick up, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely not super hard. I'm just thinking that she might be useful when we play Karthus or something like that. Because, like, if we have an
Yeah,
AP
for sure.
carry, we want damage diversity in the bot lane. Because if, like,
Yeah,
there's not a damage split, then they just stack double MR or build, like, a Hex Drinker and it's actually just over. Like, and a lot of teams don't realize that. Like, people don't, like, think, oh, it's double AP bot with, like, an AP mid or an AP jungle. Fuck, I wonder if I should build MR at all. Like, I don't know. I just feel like mage bot lane is more exploitable than people realize, but like teams don't adjust. So Pantheon is broke. Um, Lulu is something I'm going to be putting more priority on for our mid lane, and
okay.
it would be nice if we can flex it just because like it's actually broken. I don't know if I'm ever going to
Yeah.
get
I'll
Sebastian
definitely
on it, but
I'll definitely learn more of her. I've played her a few times. Honestly, like it's just a champ that I need more time with because she just does double the amount of things that
yeah, she
the
does have
champ
like
that I
6 abilities.
normally play.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like when you've only played her like a handful of times, it's kind of confusing. But I'm sure with time,
Yeah.
it's definitely a champion that could come pretty naturally to me.
I think also you playing her like with Rosie, who's like Lulu, not OTP or anything like that, but like she clearly has a lot of experience on it. And me, like I'm a Lulu main.
Okay.
Like you're gonna have like some voices guiding you.
Yeah, that
s-
would be helpful for sure.
so I, like Pantheon, Giga broke. I think that Lulu's pretty broke.
Okay.
Um, I don't
Pantheon, Lulu,
know
Simba.
like if there was anything in your pool that you felt like you wanted to put a higher priority on. I like Karma a lot, but she just seems kind of weak right now, just like in the meta comparatively to other
Yeah,
enchantresses.
she's kind of mid recently. I used to love her like a month or two ago, but
Hmm.
I haven't exactly been in love with her recently for sure.
Yeah. Um, I'm just like when we talk about like players and like the champion pools and their identity, like I'm not exactly sure where you're trying. Like it's like I see you play Morgana and Leona and Janna, right?
Right.
But like those three champions are like they're like the triumvirate of different things. Like Morg is like anti-mage or not anti-mage, but like she's like anti-engage. I guess Jen is also the same, but Morgana is like anti-engage, but also has offensive pressure. Leona is pure offensive pressure, and Janna is pure defensive pressure, right? Like, and it's like I guess she
Right.
has Comet with W, so Janna's can be more aggro than they used to be, but um, like if we're looking at your champions that you've like really put time into, like I'm not exactly sure what direction like you feel more comfortable moving in. Like do you want to be like an aggro engager? Do you want to be
I
like
definitely
generalist?
love being aggro engager with an ADC that like I don't want to say is better than me, but like if there is an ADC that knows a matchup and is like you can look for this at any time. Like I
Hmm.
love that cuz it's just like I just follow
Right.
the lead and like follow engages. It's a little bit harder for me when I'm playing aggro engage champs to know when we'll win a matchup, I
Yeah.
guess. So like especially like in solo queue, I like a lot of the safer picks a lot of times unless I just see like it's a really good opportunity for like Leona or someone like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I mean, like on it, like the champs are so different only because like I didn't want to be like someone like I feel like a support you kind of have to play around a team a lot more
Right.
than
Yeah.
solo laners have to play around you because they kind of just pick like their OTP or
Hmm.
whoever they think will be good in lane. Support you kind of have to play who's going to be good
Right.
in the whole game. So that's why they're so different. Just because like I do kind of want to have like a diverse champ pool
Right. Yeah. Obviously, we want you to have answers to like certain things, which is great. Because I mean, like,
for sure.
I'm glad that like if they pick like Nautilus, it's like, or if we were handshaking Nautilus Leona, like we can do that, or like, you know, answer to it in a couple different ways. I just like I'm not sure like if you want to be like a like
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of just want to be like I kind of just want to learn champs and be what the team needs. I guess.
okay, okay,
Like that's kind of what I like doing in solo duo. So it definitely is amplified when I'm around people that I can trust.
all right. I'm thinking, man, of shit that I actually play on here. I'm not gonna keep scrolling. This is looking like grief territory right now. Oh
The
God,
old
Zig
Teemo
support.
support.
Yikes. Yeah, I think Zig support's actually insane, but like I'm pretty sure people are just picking it at the worst times. Let's see. Oh, it's not a huge sample size anyway. Um, yeah, look at this. Oh God, what happened that day? What the fuck? Um, so let's see, matchups it's not good into. Can you even tell? Like, Christ. All right, whatever. So yeah, I mean, a huge one, like, so it's like the biggest ones in pro that I'm seeing. Like, I've seen Lux a lot. Like, Guardian Lux is pretty good. Maokai, like Aftershock, like you're actually just he's insane as a top laner, but you can just take utility top lane tanks and play him bot lane. Like that's where Pantheon is. That's where like
Right.
Scion support was. Um so honestly Pantheon +1, like if you just want to put time on them is fine for the next couple weeks. So
Okay.
whoever you decide on, just let me know. It doesn't have to be
All
like
right.
today or anything.
Cool.
Okay, cool. All right, well then I'll message Kat about the whole scrim block, and then I'll put something in the chat tonight. And then tomorrow, I guess we'll be there. It's gonna be like 8:30 or 9 if that's cool.
Yeah, that should work
Okay, it'll
for
just be a
sure.
best of two. Like it won't be we're not gonna like play like 3 games at fucking 1 in the morning or anything like that. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, just like a best of two tomorrow, and then um maybe some light match prep for the team afterwards. I'll get their OPGG and like the document will be in the drive and everything like that if you feel like checking it out. But other
Cool.
than that, I don't really have much to say. If you have any other questions, I mean, I'm
No,
free
that was
here.
great. Thanks for catching me up.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I will talk to you tomorrow then.
All right, see you tomorrow, dude.
All right, I'll see you. Oh, me beep boop.